silent 7-second count. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Good evening. It is a special Monday night live stream of the Sports Refuge. Not only are we on Facebook, we are on YouTube and we're on Twitch as well. And my guest, we're starting this very, very early. You know how ESPN does their way too early NFL playoff preview predictions when it's like, 5 minutes after the Super Bowl. This is my way too early NBA playoff preview. I know a lot of people love the NFL one, so we're going to do something a little different and do something a little new. And with me to discuss the Golden State Warriors is a longtime Golden State Warriors fan, Thomas Banks. Thomas, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How about yourself, man?
I am doing absolutely great. I always tell people when it comes to things like this, any day above ground is a good one because, unless you live under, in a subterranean city underground, there really isn't anything better than, being able to see sunshine.
That's the truth. Just ask the Ninja Turtles.
I think after they moved from the sewer to that little underground train station, I think they sort of stepped up. I mean, the rest of the series where they were living wasn't that great, but the big old abandoned train wasn't too bad.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, they just had to step up. All they had to do was get April O'Neil, and they were fine. That's a big step up right there. Something about April O'Neil and that yellow spandex suit. I don't know what it is.
You see, I think in the arcade game, she was wearing pink, or there's somewhere, either toys or something, she was wearing a pink jumpsuit. I mean, that same yellow jumpsuit, but in a different color.
Well, yeah, but she was hot, man. But if anybody can get James Avery to voice Shredder and to get him involved with the Ninja Turtles, all because of April O'Neil, it's a go, definitely.
It's funny. Somebody did a YouTube spoof where they basically called it Uncle Shredder. So it's basically, I think you know where I'm going with this. So basically, it is basically they have cutscenes of Shredder, but they use Uncle Phil's voices. And they just have a double, like he was talking about the time where him and Vivian, they were, fighting for social justice during the 60s and stuff like that. So when you start hearing Shredder talk about, black man's rights and everything like that, it's like the most insane thing that it puts together, but it actually makes Shredder seem a lot more more militant and legit.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, man. I know they do a lot of voiceovers with him in the Ninja Turtles and stuff, and then it always tripped me out. Like sometimes when you be watching Ninja Turtles, they want so many errors in that TV show as far as with the animations. People be talking and the turtle's mouth don't even move. They'll go from one headband to no headband in a split second. You're like, what in the world, man? This is what we used to watch when we were kids, though. So it was like, oh, man, it didn't even matter, bro.
in a world where we get on everybody on the internet about continuity errors and Marvel movies, for us, we really don't. We look at some of those movies, we watch some of those cartoons and think, man, those are a little cringy. Not as in, you couldn't say this stuff now. They were very super cheesy when you think about some of those things that were going on.
Yeah, super cheesy. Man, but there's nothing like the 80s and the 90s cartoons, man. I feel bad for these kids nowadays, whatever they're watching. We grew up in a special time, man. Everything was awesome back then, I think,
Yeah, it's one thing before we get to our NBA preview. I wanted to ask you this. Do you think I mean, you probably hear it all the time, especially we'll see stuff on Nickelodeon or Disney Channel and things like that. And we say, man, Nickelodeon or Disney or whatever has really changed when we were kids. And I always thought about it like this. We're no longer the target audience that they're looking for anymore. So of course everything's going to be different. They back in the 80s, it was basically a playground to basically sell toys. That's all it was. You were just basically shilling every He-Man, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe action figure you can, and nobody said anything about it. In fact, the government just sort of like looked the other way when you think about it. And now like there was this whole talk, I think like a few years ago, when everybody was upset that for the first time in like 70 years, there are no cartoons on Saturday morning television. I mean, technically not network television because Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and all that other stuff. But that's a completely different thing as opposed to no Saturday morning cartoons on Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, CW, or something like that.
Well, yeah, but like I remember going, every day after school, I would on Friday I would go to sleep. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna catch the new episode of X-Men or of Thundercats, because back something like you used to go on like I forget what it is, but you would go on oh man, I think it was Cartoon Network, and they would have all the throwbacks, man. I mean, it just was something about waking up, watching X-Men, watching Thundercats, watching Wildcats. It just was great, man. Like and I just think it's a part of our childhood that can never be replaced. And I just feel bad for these kids nowadays, man, that the stuff that's on TV is just, I mean, things that used to be kind of like secretive when we were growing up is just exploited now. Like the loving hip hop stuff and all the, I'm not gonna get all into it, but you know what I'm saying, man. A lot of stuff is just like man, like we were shielded from a lot of those things, because of like with cartoon, they found a way to just like keep us focused on things like that, and just like with us running outside playing and everything. These kids don't even want to do that now, and now it's, don't get me wrong, I'm a gamer, I love the game, but like I remember we used to go outside and play. It was like a privilege to go outside and play,
Yeah.
But, like let's go outside and have some fun. No, not nowadays, man. They just want to stay inside and talk to themselves. I don't know, man. I think we're gonna all the kids. It's funny. I was watching YouTube, and they were saying what will the human race look like in 1 billion years or something like that. And I think we're gonna mutate into just some head and hands. That's it.
I was gonna say like John B on Pee Wee's Playhouse, but he didn't have hands.
Yeah. Cowboy Curtis.
I had to. Oh God! I can't. You can't. I can't look at. Like I said, now when I see Lawrence Fishburne, I can't even. You think he has like three iconic characters. He's Ike Turner. He's Cowboy Curtis. I'm not saying they had to be the great and most memorable people in the world, but like I said, you think of Ike Turner, you think of Cowboy Curtis, and whatever version of the same character he's playing, either in Higher Learning or Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood. I mean, because basically he's playing 3 versions of the same character in all those movies. But
in Boys in the Hood, he was Furious Styles. And I would always like to see him in a super battle beatdown between Furious Styles and Morpheus from the Matrix. Who would win?
I completely forgot about Morpheus because I've never really watched the Matrix movies. I just, I don't know. It's just one of those movies I just could not get into. But again, hey, everybody has their own preference of certain movies that they like and other things. But I was just thinking about it. We were talking about not being marketed towards things like cartoons, and you think about the cartoons. You know what? Like I said, you were talking about how some things we were sort of shielded from. Yeah. They said a lot of sly stuff in cartoons that now as an adult, you get them. You get them now.
Very
it's like
true. Very true.
Ren and Stimpy pushed the envelope at one point, and you look at that, and now you're like, that's a regular episode of SpongeBob, which I honestly, I can say this as a 38-year-old that, it wasn't actually a bad show because really that was on during college. So,
yeah, Yeah,
And like I said, when that's a Generation Lincoln show, and my 24-year-old niece talks about a line from SpongeBob, and she knows the same one I'm thinking about. That's all it is. If I say all I gotta put up is you say put your best SpongeBob meme, the first thing I think of is how many times do we have to tell you this, old man? Oh my god.
God.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
god.
Yeah, you're right about that. They did have a lot of indie windows and a lot of those shows, man. But yeah, man, like now it's just a big nothing's like a secret no more, man. Like, they just say whatever they want to say and then show whatever they want to show. I mean, like just like with like sex, and it's just boom. It's like there it is right in front of you, like it ain't nothing. And then you got like, other things, man. But
Yeah, I'll give you a quick example. First, we were talking about. I think I just thought about this a long time ago. Everybody was like, "Oh, Roseanne kissed a woman on TV," and then I was like, "Oh, Ellen came out as gay on TV." And those again, I mean, now, I mean, and again, I've always been a believer of this. Not my choice. I'm not judging you and your lifestyle. I'm just like there are certain things where the envelope has gotten pushed. And like at one point, I will Lucy, you couldn't even say pregnant on TV, and that was in the 50s. I mean, yet people didn't even think about there was an interracial couple on TV back then. But the fact that you couldn't say pregnant while a Hispanic guy and a white lady were dating or married, nobody, everybody turned a blind eye to that. But seriously, as I was now as we actually one more thing, because I always get on, how some people just get off on tangents, but I just thought about it. We're talking about how we get marketed, we're they market it to different age groups. We're in that age group now that we are in the midpoint of being, actually we're almost near the end of being marketable people, because there's always in television there's that 18 to 49 window where those are the people that have the money, even though everybody after 50 actually has more money because they've actually had a longer career, they're close to retirement, they hopefully saved. But 18 to 49, those are the guys that they always look for. We are actually what, 11 years from 12 years from being no longer viable at that point. We're just going to be kicked to the corner in 12 years. So
ain't it scary, man, to think that, man? And I was just having this discussion the other day, man, with somebody, and I was like, man, they made you feel like if you didn't go to college and you didn't make something out of yourself, you would be nothing, man. Like, I think it was like the biggest scam, especially with the minorities, man. Like, they would say, oh, go to college and you get a nice career, nice job, this, and that. But they don't tell you about the things that you really need, like your credit, or you're like, keep making sure that you keep your debt low, if you're trying to own a business or something like that. Like the things
how to write a check.
Yeah,
even though I'll say this, we were sort of lucky. I know, like I learned writing a check in like second grade, but that was like it still took me a while to sort of fathom that, and how to use a credit card. Right now I don't have a credit card because I try to eliminate all my debt. My car's paid off. The only debt I really have, it's good debt because it's a house payment. But
yeah.
That's the only good debt to me. And, and I know a lot of people say that, well, like I said, you got the cash, you can pay for it. But yeah, like I said, because it's funny, a lot of people don't know this. You were born a day before me, the exact same year.
Mm-hmm.
So you were technically a day older than me. So you were born on a Friday.
Yep.
Yeah. That's you were born on a Friday and I was born on a Saturday.
That's crazy, man. Yep. And we, I don't know, man. Like, hey, but technically, no, I feel like we're a lot older than what we are anyway. Because if you think about it, we were probably like, there was many of us chilling in our father's warm,
yeah,
loins. And one of us made it. That means we're just strong people. We made it, man. To the destination where we're supposed to come from.
Well, they say it's like baseball. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
That's right, man. That's right. We were little sperms, man. One of us probably stopped the Wawa, got us a turkey sandwich or something,
or I guess the burgers now.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, man?
I have not have not tried on, but I mean, doing the low carb thing, is really not much you can eat at Wawa without the bread. I I know I feel like I feel like I'm the one old guy that keeps talking about this and this. But before we get into our discussion, yeah, I went and got like a scrambled egg bowl, a steak and cheese, a steak and egg bowl, and we're trying to stay under certain net carbs. That thing was 14 net carbs, and that was almost half of my net carbs for a day.
Exactly. Like, so what? It's like you got to drink like a whole like 2 gallons of water, and you can't eat nothing. Like, because everything is like bad. Everything is bad, man.
And that's the thing. We started doing protein shakes. We started again we're doing keto, so pretty much it's meat and like 2 vegetables. That's it. You can't do potatoes. Can't do broccoli. Oh, well, you can do broccoli. I don't eat cauliflower, so that's why I soup vegetables. But yeah, it's like no peas, no corn, no none of that other stuff. Like I said, I mean, I don't miss it. I really don't miss a lot of this stuff, like maybe potatoes, but other than that, I know other people who do keto. There's certain other foods they miss, and some things that cut out. But it's not a bad thing. It's something you still got to manage the other aspects of it, because people use it as an excuse to say, "Oh, I'm going to eat bacon all the time," which
Yeah, everything's in moderation. Like I just dropped almost 30 pounds. I was
nice.
245 pounds. I think that's the biggest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I dropped 30 pounds off of me. But I ran, I ran every night. When I got out of work, I would run. If it wasn't 4 laps, I would try to do 3 miles, take my watch, and then put in like 500 calories I try to burn every night just to run. And it would take me like about 4 miles to burn. No, probably a little. I'm wrong. It would take me like an hour and a half to burn that much, and you would have to run. But you could eat what you want. It depends on your body. It depends on you. You may not take pasta well, or I can take it well.
Yeah, and running for the pasta is probably great for you because that's carbs. You need the carbs. It's something different if you're basically, sedentary lifestyle, sitting at a desk. It's like, I mean, me, I don't even eat bread anymore. I'll do the low carb tortillas, and even then, those are super, super sparingly. But other than that, it's meal prep. It's a lot of meal prep, which is good because if you do meal prep for one day, you're covered for a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the big cutting out of going out eating, making your own food home. Like you said, meal prepping, man, staying away from bread, staying away from like the sweets, man. That's the teas. You gotta have like a water. You gotta have water, man. Like, and if you're gonna, what's good? That's really, really good, man, is diet ginger ale, man.
Well, yeah, I've been doing diet root beer. Actually, I found sugar-free candy. That's what I've been doing because it's all sugar alcohol, so it doesn't really cause anything. There's really no carbs. But teas, I do. You do the bag teas, and if you just use heavy cream instead of milk or anything, you're fine. That's we've been looking for pretty much every single way to at least still have something. I try not to drink soda because I notice it ends up putting on weight. When I started the diet in September, I went from 324 pounds. Now I've sort of been plateauing for the past month. I'm at okay, this morning I was 280. So, but at the lowest at one point, I stepped on a scale that I do every Monday, 270, 275.
Good for you, man.
So, yeah, that's the only problem. I've hit the plateau, and I'm hitting the plateau. So now the next thing to do is try to adjust and try to figure out how to get over that plateau, and then because I want to lose maybe anywhere from 25 to 50 more pounds because I'm already college / high school weight. So
nice.
If I can get to 220, that's like something like I don't even remember. In middle school, I was 197, and then all of a sudden, the summer going into freshman year, okay, about 240, and just because living in Newark, not knowing anybody, I was so used to living in Del Mar and going and walking and playing baseball and stuff like that. You you sit at home doing nothing. You don't know anybody. That's the word. And isolated. It's not like you were living in Snow Hill. You can walk and see people. You're in Newark. You're in Newark.
You can see some deer. That's about it.
Yeah.
Make some friends.
Oh yeah, make friends with all the creatures of nature. The happy little.
That's the truth.
So let's going into this NBA playoff preview, talking about the Golden State Warriors. Again, for a lot of you people who are watching this, this episode will come out around the time the playoffs start in May, which is so weird because of COVID and last year's late season. But it is very unique. I mean, nothing really else has changed except for everything's later into the shorter season. And then as soon as the finals are over, they're jumping straight to the Olympics. So that'll be interesting. So going on, looking at the Golden State Warriors. How long have you been a fan of the Warriors?
I've been a fan of the Warriors since they had Tim Hardaway. This was back in the early 90s, 80s, late 80s or something like early 90s. They had Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond. I was a big fan of them three, especially Tim Hardaway. He came out with UTEP. Been a fan ever since then. I thought they were I think they were in that era where Jordan, I think was you couldn't, no other team could, it was Jordan's era. So you didn't really get a chance to see them, be the best that they could, the best version of themselves. But I've been a fan of them ever since then. And then when Baron Davis went there, I became a fan. So I've been always watching Golden State ever since I was a kid. They would be and then just when I'll get into that later. But when Curry, Klay Thompson, and them came, it was these guys are going to be something special. But I've been a fan of them since a while ago, man. Yeah.
It's funny how when the names all change, but the team still stays the same, the team name at least, it's just crazy how many years you can think of. Oh, I remember, like you said, Tim Hardaway, Run TMC, all that stuff. Weber. Then
Weber. Jesus.
Every time I see that, at being a Wizards fan, basically ours intersect because it's Weber and then Mitch Richmond, except yours went the other direction. But yeah, and then like I said, you've seen all the success. What in your memory? What is your most memorable Golden State Warriors moment?
Oh man, jeez, man. I think it was when Stephen Curry, he went and he was going against OKC. The moment that made, I think, Kevin Durant say, "Okay, I got to play with these guys," was when he was dribbling the ball. It was 4 seconds left on the clock, and he dribbles, and he's not even that. He's a little past half court, and he shoots the ball and hits the three from he was past 40 feet, man. I think, man, whatever, and he shoots it, and it goes in, and everybody goes crazy. So I think that one, and then when Klay Thompson, that is my most memorable, man, was when Stephen Curry hit that shot. I was like, this guy's not even human, man. He's an alien. He knows he's got past 20/20 vision. This guy's a beast, man. So that's probably the most memorable time that I can recall. I mean, it's so many with that team and those players that they have. So many. But that's probably the most memorable one I can think of off the top.
Expectations going into the season, they were a lottery team for the first time in a very, very, very long time. Steph Curry getting hurt, of course. Klay Thompson still being out. Durant leaving and going to New Jersey, going to Brooklyn, and so much stuff had changed. What were you hoping for going into this season, especially everything being so out of sorts with the shortened season because of COVID?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was hoping that they would be, more of, they would be more of a challenge to everyone. I mean, right now everybody can kind of pick them apart because Klay is hurt. They got that kid Wiseman who's very good. He's gonna be a all-star, I think, in the future. If he stays healthy, I can see him playing with the level of Anthony Davis when he gets a shot and everything down, he's got to take some time to grow. But yeah, right now they everybody knows their identity right now. They know Steph is the main threat on that team offensively. Draymond is very good at dishing the ball. If he can keep his temper down, he'll be fine. But right now, I think they can make a little noise, but enough to get past certain teams. And right now, other teams are looking really, really good against them. They're missing Clay. I just hope that when he returns, he will be somewhat of his former self. I just hope that because he's had two bad injuries, but he's a shooter too. He doesn't really need to, you know, he doesn't do a lot of slashing, but Clay is an underrated defensive player. You just want him to, be able to come back and shoot the ball and be that threat to help Curry, move around more fluent. But they need Klay Thompson back, man. They don't get Klay back. They're not the Warriors without the Splash Brothers. They're not. They won't be the Warriors, believe it or not, without Draymond Green. All three of those guys go hand in hand, and they all know how each other plays. So when they get Klay Thompson back, hopefully they'll be able to make some noise. I think they'll look good. I think Wiggins. I don't know, man. It's tough. His shot has gotten better, but I think if they have to trade someone, they could trade him for someone. And I always think they need a big man. They need a steady big man. I think Wiseman coming off the bench is good. I always said I think they made a big mistake getting rid of JaVale McGee. That was like the worst thing they could have done because JaVale McGee is underrated. And he only had a certain amount of minutes he could play because of his asthma and everything, but he did a lot for that team. But yeah, that's what I think, man.
Well, I guess we'll skip that. Where was there a point in the season that you felt like, okay, Golden State's getting into the playoffs, especially after having that one down year, Steph missing most of last year, Clay pretty much missing all of last year?
No. I already knew that they weren't gonna do anything too much, man. When you're missing, they have too many rookie new guys on that team. They don't have the experience. They have two guys with playoff experience and championship experience right now. So, I mean, I think they can. It's good for them to get into it and to be like, okay, yeah, so this is how it's going to be. So this is where we got to get our mindset for next year. But as far as them making any noise right now, no, I think they're muted right now. They can't really do too much right now. Like I said, they're not even a full team. They don't know how they're gonna. When Clay gets back, you don't know how they're gonna, congeal together. You don't know. Like I said, you don't know if he's gonna be healthy, if he's gonna be, iffy, if he's not gonna be like. He's got to be like at least 80% of himself for them to be any type of successful. And they gotta hope and pray to God that Stephen Curry does not get hurt, because if he gets hurt, it's another done deal. Who are you going to have? Wanamaker? Huh? Who are they going to get to replace Steph Curry? Plus, he's not getting any younger. I mean, so now he's getting older another year. He's putting more mileage on his knees, on his ankles, on his wrist. Anything could happen right now. Then when Clay comes back, Clay might be fresh, but Curry might be, I'm getting older now, man. Even though it's a year, a lot can change in a year, man. So,
were you worried about them making the playoffs? I mean, I know you're concerned that while if they do make it, they're not going to do much unless there's some type of magic, like they knocked off the Mavericks that long time ago with Don Nelson. But other than that, I mean, what were the biggest concerns about them making the playoffs? I mean, what do you felt like could hold them back or could have held them back in making the playoffs?
Injuries. And it's just, they're just not ready at all. I mean, like, look, who's gonna, like, who are they gonna be who are they a threat to? Lakers, Portland. Heck, I can see you, and then look at Utah right now. They're the number one team in the league on the west right now, man. I mean, they just they don't have the firepower yet. When they get their team back, I mean by their team, which is Klay Thompson, they're gonna have some. It's gonna be like the return of the Sith, bro. They're gonna come back with a vengeance, man. Watch. They're gonna be the team that's gonna be like, all right, yo, you guys counted us out, even me, because I have doubts right now of why I don't think they're gonna even make the playoffs. And I say it's because of injury plagues, and like I just don't think they're mature enough right now, even though they got two guys that's, like I said, been they've been champions, but they just don't have it right now. Even Steve Kerr looks lost out there right now, man, trying to get these guys together, man. I mean, he doesn't look like he knows what he wants to even, like, he doesn't know what he wants to do. I mean, these guys, their defense have gotten bad. They're too small. Pascal, he's probably like, he kind of replaces Iguodala, but Iguodala he was very athletic, man. I mean, this guy Pascal is pretty good. He's going to get better, but yeah, man, they just need to just be on cruise control right now this year. They don't need to try to force getting into the playoffs and then force trying to do so much and then someone gets hurt. That's what I think. I think just sit back and like take notes this year.
And the thing about the West is that at any point, a couple of wins can move you up from 12 to 5th at any point, because the West is very competitive as opposed to the East, where it looks like a disaster. But and it's interesting that you never really think about it, how the impact of one player can really change a team. I mean, I guess it's obvious. You can see what LeBron can do to one team. Changes the Cavs into a competitive team, changes the Lakers into a good team again. But I mean, if Steph's there, then you add Klay, that could be even dangerous. But then again, who knows? They could luck out, miss the playoffs, and hit the lottery again and get the number one pick. And then now you have youth to go with that experience, and then it gets going. But again, the lottery is a crapshoot.
Yeah, it is. But they don't have no bench. Who they got good coming off the bench? All those guys are young and they're new. They have no experience coming off the bench. I remember when they had that year when they went 72, I think, and 72 wins, and I forget how many losses. I think they went like 72 wins.
I think they went 73-9. I think they were better than the Bulls that year.
And like they had Barbosa, they had David West, they had God, they had so many people on that bench, man, that like they could throw at you. They were so like, there was so much experience on that team then, and they had Livingston. They had so many pieces. I mean, you look at them now, like it just like, what's his name? David Latham. Is that his name? Their coach. I can't remember his name, man. Mark Latham, David Latham, something like that. The owners, the GMs.
Oh, Joe Latham.
Joe Latham. There we go. Yeah. I'm sorry. I remember that guy was saying, "Oh, we're light years ahead of the league." Well, guess what? I don't know what decisions you guys made, but they made some poor choices somewhere down the road, man. Either they got too comfortable or too cocky. That's the issue. And anytime you get a star like Kevin Durant, I'm sorry, like Draymond, he really, really dropped the ball on that one, man. He was the reason why that team, that dynasty, fell apart. They could have at least won another 2-3 rings.
They should have beat Cleveland if he didn't get in trouble and get ejected and get suspended, because they had the momentum. They had the momentum that series. I mean, because all you had to do was win one game, and LeBron wasn't doing it. It took Kyrie Irving to win that game.
Yeah,
I feel like Skip Bayless right now.
Yeah, LeBron provoked Draymond, man. He really did. He didn't have to step over him like that, man. I mean, that's just like I don't know. That's like disrespect, but you got to control your composure. It's a veteran move, man. It's a veteran move. That's all I can say. Hats off to LeBron.
Who do you think the Warriors match up well with if they make the playoffs?
In the West or in general? You just talking about
in the Western Conference.
In the West? Oh man, probably I would say Sacramento Kings right now, man. That's probably who they would want to see. They don't want to see Portland. They don't want to see Lakers. They don't want to see Utah right now. Although they beat Utah. I don't know. Maybe Utah, man. I think they could in a best of seven. They probably can win 2 games, and that's it, man. I don't know because Donovan Mitchell's playing really good, man. And Gobert, yeah, I think he's always been a klutz, but he's actually doing pretty well this season. So yeah, I think they can match up with Utah.
Who's the team that, as a Warriors fan, you don't want to see in the Western Conference playoffs?
Lakers, you don't want to see. Portland, I don't think you don't want to see. Um, oh God, man, who else is out there? Jesus, Dallas, man.
And you guys are fighting for the last spot.
Yeah,
As of March 15th, they were fighting for the last spot in the playoffs to get to end up facing the Jazz.
Jesus, man. I think they can beat Houston. The Rockets. I think the Rockets are fused out. Man, yeah, they're not gonna if they get Lakers, if they get Dallas, if they get Utah, any one of those teams, man, even though I think their money, they got a best chance of winning a series against either Utah. No, I mean it's just hard, man. They don't have a chance, man. They just don't have a chance right now. They don't. They're too young and too inexperienced right now. So I know for sure they don't want to see LeBron James right now because it will be RIP to the Golden State Warriors. As I like to call them, the Golden Mistake Warriors. Because they made so many errors and bad decisions. They're the Golden Mistake Warriors right now, man. 2021 wish they were champions.
And I always see that the Western Conference has always been an arms race. It was either you're going to load up to face Jordan, or you're going to load up to see if you guys can outduel Shaq in the West. Or now with LeBron, it's like, okay, let's build a team to beat LeBron. It's always feels like the Western Conference has always been that way, while the Eastern Conference has been a completely different beast.
Yeah, but if you notice LeBron, man, like he's gotten all like he seems like he just cannot win without having a stacked team. That's just me, man. He has to have a stacked team, bro. Look how they're struggling right now without Anthony Davis. You know what I mean? Like those guys are role players. LeBron is leading them. Don't get me wrong; he's doing his thing, but he just seems like he has to have, and which I guess it's the truth. I mean, look, I look at a guy like Giannis who has nobody. He has nobody right now, and he decided to stick with the Bucks. He's sticking with them. LeBron jumped from Cleveland
Miami
to Miami down to LA. I mean, back to Cleveland. Now he's going to LA. I mean, come on, man. Like it's just not a good look for him, man. Like even with Curry's only been with Golden State Warriors, man. And they're even when they were great, when they weren't so good, then they got good, and now when they're back down at the bottom again, he's still there.
I'll say this. This is one question off the cuff. The one NBA Finals matchup you always wish you could have seen that we never got, in your memory, watching the NBA for almost 30 years, what's the one matchup you wish you would have seen?
Man, and this with any time period you're
talking about? It doesn't matter. You could say back in before we were born. You could say any other matchup that you wish we got to see that we were robbed of, or things didn't work out the way they did.
I would love to see Jordan versus his team versus Shaq's and Kobe's team. I would love to see, because the comparison of Kobe Bryant and Jordan is like a quarter right now, heads and tails. They're so neck and neck. Some people would say Kobe, believe it or not, is better than Jordan, man. And Jordan is better than Kobe right now. But I would love to see a NBA's final with those two teams, or even the Golden State Warriors team that they had now versus either that LA team or that Jordan team. One of those two. I would love to see any of those games, any of them.
See, I was thinking this. Some of you were thinking LeBron versus Kobe. We never got to see that in the finals when it mattered. Because either Dwight Howard got in the way or the Celtics got in the way, or all of a sudden LeBron didn't show up in that one game against Orlando. Or I will say this, I wanted to see the Bulls against the Rockets because that would have been Olajuwon masterclass on how you play center. I mean, that's just me personally because think about it, Olajuwon made it to the finals 3 times. And everybody forgets about the first time because they got smoked by the Celtics, but in the early 80s. But yeah, I mean, to see them against the Bulls, you know, it would have been the dream shake versus Jordan bringing them back because, like I said, Olajuwon would have got his points against those Bull centers. There's no doubt about it.
Oh man, yeah, that would have probably been like a really good game, man. Very, very good game, man. It's like saying Puff that you would see the Harlem Shake versus the Dream Shake versus the milkshake. Too many shakes, man. But I think my favorite is the steak and shake.
Going on to the NBA Finals prediction. Who do you have coming out of the East? Who do you have coming out of the West? Who wins the finals and in how many games?
All right. Obviously, with the addition of Blake Griffin, and if everybody get it together, and play in unison, I think the Nets is coming out of the East. They're going to beat Milwaukee. Obviously, coming out of the West will be the Lakers. I think those two teams will meet in the playoffs. And I think, and I hope, I would say the Nets in 6.
Oh wow! Honestly, I feel like they'd be rewarded for bad behavior. Just at least LeBron and them made likable villains that people would cheer for. These guys are like, it's a bunch of head cases. That's all. Every single one of them is a bunch of head cases. I mean that all the flat LeBron gets that Nets team would be the from their bland color scheme and everything else, it's like everything.
Hey, they live in Brooklyn. Hey, man. I mean, I just think they're gonna if it's gonna come down to obviously defense, but they got so much firepower right now, man. They got so much firepower right now, and it's just like who's gonna stop Durant? I mean, you can match up Durant with LeBron. Okay, they might cancel each other out. But who's going to stop Harden? Who's going to stop Kyrie? Who's going to stop those two? Pope, what's his name? Pope. They have nobody. Kyle Kuzma. They're not going to. Come on, man. Those guys were riding LeBron's coattail, man. At least I think. Anyway, I just don't think they're going to. Although I think Lakers bench is better than theirs, but they just got too much, man. They can throw too many. They can throw so much stuff at the Lakers right now, man. But that remains to be seen until they get to that point, So
yeah, Steve Nash is a new head coach. Who knows how he'll handle the playoffs? It's a completely different thing, especially when while you've been a player, it's a completely different story. You can ask Steve Kerr. I mean, Steve Kerr went from role player to being legendary coach overnight. This is you don't think of extremely good superstar players end up becoming these masterful coaches because normally it ends up being a disaster.
Yeah, man, and Steve Kerr, but then once again, look, man, because look, Mark Jackson built that Warriors team, man, and then just Steve Kerr, they didn't want a brother to have too much, so they put in Steve Kerr, and now all of a sudden Steve Kerr, the greatest coach, that built off the back of Mark Jackson, who was the founder, who told them, hey man, you need to get that kid, man, Stephen Curry, who was building that team, building them, and now same thing with Steve Kerr. I mean, not Steve Kerr, but Nash. Although he I guess he actually got all the pieces together himself. I don't know how it went, but he had so many assets. I mean, Brooklyn didn't have nothing, man. So they were like, man, we can grab whoever, I don't think Durant went over there because of Nash. I think Durant went over there to make his own name. He didn't want to live in the Golden State Warriors shadow no more because, as Stephen A. Smith says, it was the weakest move supposedly in the NBA history. And I don't think that because look what LeBron's been doing all his time.
I mean, Eddie went to Washington with a healthy Beal and healthy Wall.
Exactly.
That's a different story because everybody's been wanting that for 10 years. But as we start to wrap things up, what are ways people can reach out to you on social media?
So they can reach out to me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Those are the only two platforms I'm on right now. I don't have any other type of things besides those two. Yeah, no, it's just those two platforms I have right now, man.
Hey, Thomas, I really do appreciate it. We'll finish this offline, but I appreciate it for everybody who's been watching, especially to our watchers on Twitch. Really appreciate it. Show us some love. Give us some comments or so. You can, if you want to reach out to us, shoot us an email at thesportsrefuge@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at thesportsrefuge or at the Earl Holland on Twitter as well. Thanks again, Thomas. We'll talk about a few things a little bit more, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks a lot.
All right, brother. Thank you.